One of the fascinating things about probate is you learn about industries and companies and resources that you need that you even know existed. And pretty early on in my probate career, I started 6 years ago, found that there would be people who, well, A, we had administrators who need to find heirs, and then B, people who suspect there might be other heirs. And how do you find them? Well, we actually have a person whose business, Assets International, is uniting heirs with assets. The CEO and investigator in chief, that sounds interesting, Michael Zwick, return guest. Michael, thanks for coming back.
Glad to be here, Bill. I'm now a member of the three time club.
You are, and wait till you see what you get with the three-time club. For those of you who don't know, so let's talk about finding heirs. I think there's really two sides to this. One side is one of the jobs of the administrator is to do a reasonable search, and it varies. The law and the practices vary by state and then by county and such, the rules. But administrator is supposed to be a reasonable search as to whether or not there are heirs. And so one of the processes is to hire a company to say, do I have any heirs? And they pay a fee, and then you research it. So talk about that process. Do you get contacted by attorneys or fiduciaries or administrators, families that suspect there's somebody but don't know what to do to find them?
Yes. So as you said, it varies from state to state and even sometimes county to county. But generally speaking, when someone is the executor, they have to make at least some effort to locate all of the heirs at law. And that is regardless of whether the heirs are going to be inheriting anything. And that requires some clarification. People think heirs are people who inherit. But that's not true. Heirs are basically the closest living relatives to someone who has passed away. So some cases, the heirs can be cousins. They can be, aunts and uncles. Whereas in some cases, if a person has spouse and children, those are the only heirs. And those heirs are entitled to notice of a probate proceeding when someone dies, even if they're not getting anything. On the flip side, in addition to finding the heirs and expending at least some effort to find them, there has to be effort made to find the beneficiaries. And there's the expectation in most courts that the more somebody is going to be receiving, the more effort the executor should make, because there's more at stake. So, for example, if someone dies with only, say, $50,000, then that's what their estate is worth. The court's not going to usually make the executor spend, say, $5,000 to track all the heirs down. But if it's talking $5 million, then $5,000 isn't that much.
Right. And so they would retain a firm like yours. And so what's that look? Let's start with the administrator who has to make their due diligence. Imagine the estate's worth about $1 million. What does that look like? They retain you, they pay you a fee, and you do a certain amount of research and give them a report back if you don't find anybody, or what's that process look like?
So there are two different ways we work. One is where we work on a contingency fee basis, where we're actually not retained by the executor or the fiduciary.
Let's hold that one, because that's a whole other world that people in this call need to know about. So let's hold on. Okay. That's business for us.
Okay.
This is more the service side.
Right. So if we're just looking for people to give the report back to the fiduciary, we would charge an hourly basis, and obviously, if it's a matter of tracking down one person whose name we know, that we usually can ballpark how much it's going to take. It's usually not going to take more than a few hours at most. Where we never know until we start working is where someone dies with, say, no known heirs, or one side of the family, meaning they might know all the maternal heirs, but don't know who the paternal heirs are. In that case, we don't know, because as some families, you might have somebody who has 20 first cousins, or has a lot of relatives, or you might have somebody whose both parents were only children, so therefore it becomes this much smaller family tree. But we don't know that until we start digging into it.
Now, the flip side case is the one where anybody watching this is a chance to make some money, because this started for me where I got a phone call from somebody who said, hey, the house next door appears to be vacant. And I went online and determined that there was a prior owner. We determined they did pass away. We verified there was no probate in action. It had been 2 or 3 years. And by law, something should have happened. Somebody should have been in charge. Somebody should have been maintaining the property. It was getting decided by the city. And so we said, well, if we find who the heirs are, we can do a probate. And so me, as a real estate agent, obviously a chance to do a sale. And so we talked to Michael, and Michael went about to find who the heirs were of the property. Now that's done on a contingency basis, meaning we had a property that we thought, I forget the time, we thought it was worth maybe $600,000. Theoretically, you're calling people saying, hey, I'm Michael Zwick. I'd like to give you $600,000 less expenses. Do you like it? Talk about, what do you call that business, and talk about that business a little bit.
So that's what, on a contingency fee basis, where again, we don't get retained. You, for example, did not retain us to find those people. We took it upon ourselves, I guess you could say, in some field to be, do it on spec, where we're doing the work and hopefully we get paid later. Where we basically tracked down the heirs, and to put it in very simplistic terms, we went to them and said, hey, we've located your entitlement you have to assets or to money, and in exchange for a percentage, we'll not only give you all the details, but we'll also do all the legwork to get you that money.
In that particular case, now I'm in California, and California law provides that while obviously spouses or immediate family members most commonly file a probate petition to start the process, here in California, the law allows also creditors, and then also allows any resident of California to file a probate. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to be approved. And in this case, what we did was I filed as a petitioner, which was kind of fun. And we worked with Michael to try to find the heirs. And by the time the heirs popped in, we said, hey, look, we're almost approved to do it. Here's our game plan. And in that case, they said, well, fine, go ahead and administer the probate for us. And we laid out the fees, we laid out the costs, we laid out the process, and then they would get a certain percentage of it. So in that case, you guys actually find them and then get them to agree to some sort of finder's fee, which then gets them kind of now involved in the probate process.
Right. So we basically, first, obviously, not only found we had identified who they were, because if I remember that case correctly, we started again with no known heirs. All we knew was the name of the decedent, her age.
Right. We had no clue to offer you. We had no.
We were able to. We started out by finding out who her parents' name, and then from there we were able to find out. If I remember correctly, we found, I think it was 2 nephews and a niece, scattered throughout different cities, and then we were able to identify them as the heirs to the estate. Right. But like I said, we never know how many we're going to have to find and where they might be.
And the good news there is, in this case, I was the petitioner rather than the realtor. I had somebody else we appointed as the realtor. So we both got business. Michael got business for his firm as finding the heirs. The heirs got money they knew nothing about. They had no real knowledge of this decedent. They maybe suspected it was somebody, but they had no relationship. The neighbors had a house that was being used by drug addicts, squatters, cats, and all kinds of mess. And we got the house sold and somebody paying money. The homeowner association got a dues paying member next door. So it really worked out for everybody. So I would encourage any real estate agent, if you find a house, research it, and maybe there's an opportunity to either bring it to an attorney or service, or if it's in California, I'd love to talk to you about it and see if we can help you try to find the heirs and move the process along. So I know you do a lot of marketing at like trust events, and so talk a little bit about the building of your business. Who's your ideal referral source, and what kind of business does that look like?
I do a lot of networking, a lot
on LinkedIn. If you know Michael is to be on LinkedIn. You're not going to get off of LinkedIn ever once you meet Michael.
Yeah, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. Yes. Also active in some networking organizations, as well as attending events. I'd say our biggest referral source are trust and estates attorneys. So for big event coming up in Orlando, which is where I live, in January is the big estate planning conference called Heckerling. So I'll be there, not as a registered attendee like a number of other people. I'll be there for networking and just meeting people. But it's just a matter of people knowing who I am. So I'm trying to get my name out there as much as possible, and providing value for people so that they'll think of me when they have a matter they can use our services.
Now, one of the things you do, I do know you market to attorneys. I think that's the number one source for estate planners. So people on this call, a lot of them are real estate agents, want to do the same thing. Yet, in my mind, they kind of come out the wrong way, right? They're cold calling them on the phone and saying, hey, Michael, I'm Bill. I'm a real estate agent. Can you send me your business? Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's not as simple as that. What's your presentation? You go to a networking event or you're on LinkedIn. What is it you're looking to communicate to a prospective referral source, an attorney or fiduciary or a trust estate planner?
Simply that, the main skill set of me and my team, our main skill sets are the ability to identify people and find people, and those are two, like says everything. One is to build out who's on the family tree, but it's also a matter of locating where they are. Another big skill set is we have 24 years of tracking down people who are owed money, so we have the ability to communicate with them and address before they come up whatever doubts they might have. So we're able to present that in value. I should add, in terms of not only going back to earlier thing, in addition to trust estates attorneys, we actually have seen a rise in cases of coming out of real estate issues where someone needs to find. Some are cases like yours where someone died and the house was sitting vacant. There are also issues where, for example, there's an easement that someone wants to quiet title and finds that someone got easement 75 years ago, and the easement's pretty much worthless, but they need to get it taken care of in order to transfer title to build on the property or whatever. We're getting a whole bunch of cases like that recently where we need to find these people just to, like I said, give them notice of a quiet title action, or to hopefully make an offer, an offer just to get their name off the title or something like that. So there are various uses for our services of finding people when in the real estate context.
I'm sure. To be honest, I don't think other companies that do what you do. I think I've reached out, try to talk to a couple, but there's like websites, but there's a person behind it. Sometimes you reach out, but I'm sure in the attorneys' minds, they've already done something. If they're in the space, they've done something without you in the past, maybe not as effective as working with you. So what do you present to the attorney, or how do you present to the attorney that you're meeting, let's say, that your service is superior or worth giving a shot to, rather than what they've been doing in the past?
Well, some attorneys will, they'll try to use, say, Google to find
Yes.
people, or one of these services where you pay $20 or something like that. And I
Yes.
say, okay, very nice, but you frankly, there's a whole saying, you get what you pay for. And in some cases, like I said, you don't have to pay us anything, because all you're doing is you're just referring the matter to us, and then we're going to find the heirs. So we're doing it, and we live now in an age of specialization. People, not only are more and more knowing what they can do and can't do, but they don't want to do what they don't know how to do. They want to stick to what they do well. So an attorney who does probate, unless they happen to be an amateur genealogist on the side, is going to have a hard time doing the work and might just get frustrated and say, I've got better uses of my time to build my practice, and might say, let me hand it off to an expert. And then when an expert like me, not to my own horn, but comes through and does the work, they look like the hero to the client, that they were able to resolve the matter and make the state go through, quickly and efficiently.
Well, and I think that if you're presenting yourself as an expert attorney in trust matters, you should have a Rolodex and team members who assist you in the job who are best in class as well. And if your best in class tool is a Google search, you're kind of saying I'm a commodity and I'm just waiting to be replaced by ChatGPT. But
Right.
I think when you have a chance to understand these situations and bring in experts, and I think the other, the thing in working with you, I appreciate that the business I gave you wasn't the biggest. It became smaller and smaller, and yet you're kind enough to treat me as an important source because we've done some business together. And I think that's what relationships are about, that you can maybe have some equity and get a little extra service. And as an attorney, that's very important to them to be able to present to their clients or estate that not only did they do a Google search. I always find it funny when the judge asks for what they did, or there's a supplement that says, oh, we search these two websites. Like, really? That's all you need to do to check an error? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, that it does vary. I mean, from state to state, again, in
Yes.
county to county, and some courts are going to be much more rigid in terms of what they expect people to do to identify and track down heirs. New York, for example, especially the New York City courts require a lot to get past the inability to find heirs. Michigan, though, for example, is the opposite. It's requires pretty much no proof that you did what you have to do. You just say, I don't know where these people are, or I don't know who they are, and then you just publish a notice in a newspaper that nobody is going to read, and then you're just on your way, and you administer the estate, and whatever is left over, you just deposit with the county. So really, just like I said, it varies very much from state to state and county to county as to what you have to prove and what you have to do.
And I see why if somebody's lazy, they just assume do as little as they can because, case in point, one of the files we worked on, sometimes the heirs can be difficult to work with, right? Like I know how to sell a house. I don't really need help with that. I know how to work the probate. Don't really need help with that. But all of a sudden, I have to stop and explain, well, here's why we're doing this. Here's why we're doing that. And in some cases, argue with somebody who you bring into the deal. And yet, I think if you're in the service business, you have to be prepared to do that and earn people's support and earn their trust and be willing to put yourself on the line to do that. So again, I would just caution anybody, the shortcut is never really the shortcut. It's always going through the process and learning, and that's why I've taken the time to add on some of these things. So I know you mentioned that you have business coming from real estate, which I imagine is you probably like real estate attorneys that send you business as well, some real estate agents along the way. But I think my experience is that people in all industries have certain common characteristics. The business we're in today, I've had a great couple of years, but I know for a lot of real estate agents it's tough. For a lot of probate attorneys, it's a challenging field. What are the common characteristics of the successful probate attorneys, estate planning attorneys, referral sources? What are the common characteristics of those who have a business they're doing well, despite what might be a difficult market, or in spite of the market, or because of the market?
Well, I said probate attorneys are not really affected as much by the economy, simply because there's the old saying that there are two things certain in this world, and probate attorneys are dealing with one of them, namely death. So
avoiding taxes, they're trying to limit taxes. So kind of
right, but I think for probate attorneys, I think it's a matter of speaking to that specifically for probate attorneys is two things: how efficient they are, and how responsive they are to their clients. I will tell you, back when I practiced law, and even well into still doing what I do, I used to get the Michigan Bar Journal, because Michigan is where I originally from, and still licensed there as an attorney. And every month in there are the disciplinary notes for attorneys and it shows like who's been suspended, who's been disbarred, who's been reprimanded. And like many people, that's the first thing I look at in the Bar Journal, see who's in trouble. And what are they in trouble for? I know it sounds kind of morbid, but whatever. Mm-hmm. Anyways, one of the things you'll see in there is like, one of the most common causes of an attorney getting into trouble is not having an open line of communication with their clients. Because when the clients feel that the attorney's not responding to them, yep, they file bar complaints. But it's also, probate can be a super stressful event. Usually the executor is usually someone who is a close relative of the person who died, meaning they're dealing with the loss of a loved one. They're usually going to be the adult children, which means they're balancing their other obligations like their family and their work and whatever. They're grieving the loss of a loved one. And now they got to deal with this whole new world called probate, which can be extremely time consuming. It can be very stressful, and if they don't feel like the attorney is there to help them along the way and be there to answer questions, that can really leave someone very disaffected. On the flip side, if you have a really good attorney who is there for you, and someone finishes the process, this guy or this woman was here for me when I needed them. They asked the questions and made move things smoothly. When a friend or a relative has to be an executor, however many months or years down the road, they're going to refer that person. There's the old saying of people don't care what you know until they know that you care, and that goes for pretty much any profession out there. So I think that's really a big thing in law, is that yes, in a good economy, everyone, any lawyer can do well, but it's in the bad economy that the ones who are really there for their clients through thick and thin will be able to ride things out and be okay. You're on mute.
I'm sorry, me, because I want to share a quick surprise. I didn't want to have the typing in the background. So I know two things that you are focused on, or I should say, two of your passions. One is T-shirts of different colleges, which, as somebody who went to a lot of, I was on the debate team in high school and college, and I went to a lot of different schools for competition. So I know a lot of obscure schools, and you have T-shirts. I never heard of the places, so you really have some obscure schools. But the other thing I know that you're very committed to is High Lifeline. And so I thought I'd kind of surprise you with that, a picture of Mike on a bike ride. I think that's is that
Yeah.
Miami?
Yeah, that's me running, actually. I'm just tall.
Running, okay. But is it a bike ride or is it a run?
No, it's a run. So I will be doing, for the 11th year in a row, be doing doing the Miami half marathon for High Lifeline. It is an organization near and dear to my heart. My 18-year-old daughter was diagnosed at age 2, I think, with a very rare condition for pediatrics called polycythemia vera. It's 1 in 10 million for children. I think she was the youngest child ever diagnosed with that case. And thank God she's okay. It's more of a chronic issue for her, but it's an organization that gives amazing services to children with serious illnesses or chronic illnesses. They do wish trips. They do summer camps. They do hospital visits, whatever, not only for the kids, but the families as well. And it's something that I've been about. That, if I may, though, that link is from a past thing. I can see it's Miami 24. Okay. Yeah, we're doing Miami. This will be Miami 26, the Miami Half Marathon. It is the 2026 race. Okay. I do appreciate it. I just want to make sure people get the right link, but they can email me if they want the link. If they'd like to donate, that would be very nice. And I really appreciate you doing that for me, Bill. And my goal is
once you get connected to Michael, you're going to get an opportunity to participate. And I say an opportunity because High Lifeline is a national organization. I'm in Los Angeles. It's very well thought of here in our local area. And my daughter at one point was a volunteer for the organization and really got a lot out of working with some local kids who I really bumped into one of them yesterday, as a matter of fact. So it's a great organization, and you should have continued health and be able to continue to raise money for the work organization. So thanks for your work with that.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
And so I'm sure I'll get the link for anybody who wants to donate. Reach out to Michael directly or he'll reach out to you on LinkedIn, and you'll get the link, and wish him success on the run. And the first time I didn't think he was going to be able to do it, so I figured, yeah, sure, I'll donate per mile. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, I actually only started long distance running about 3 years ago. I used to walk it with my wife, and she's not a runner. And then when she retired from it, I started running, and I enjoy it. Not always during the running, but when I'm done with it, done with the run, I'm always happy that I did it.
Fantastic. Well, Michael, look, again, this is a resource that for those of us professionals in the business, or as a resource to bring to our professionals, to realtors, to attorneys who need to find heirs, or if you find abandoned property, again, if it's in California, let me help you research it. But if you find a spot where somebody's deceased for a couple of years, probate not filed, there's a solution. And part of the solution is Heirs Research, and Michael Zwick at Assets International is one of the best in the business. He's the resource I go to, and we'll put his contact info on the webpage down below. And if you're not seeing this or you're listening on audio, just email me or text me, and I'll get you his info. Michael, thank you so much for coming back again and sharing with us your service. And thank you for professional standards. Really appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
And for the rest of you, this was Probate Weekly. We get together every week with mostly probate attorneys, vendors who help us do better at our job. And today this is a vendor who can not only help us, but we can bring to our attorneys to help them be more successful and more efficient with their business. If I can help any way, reach out at Bill Gross Probate on social media. And as always, make today your best.